Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and down to the layout room. This really isn't going to be a how-to video, but more of a how I built the swing gate video since it's already built. In a previous upload that I had showing the scenery on the swing gate, David from the Crooked River and Eastern Railroad channel asked if I had a video showing how I built the swing gate. Unfortunately, as I was building it, I didn't think to do video. I was just really excited to be working on the layout again, and I only had a couple of pictures that I shared with my family showing the progress that I'd been making. So I told him that I'd be more than willing to post the pictures and do a write-up on how I built the swing gate. And as I was working on the write-up, I just wasn't happy with it. I'd erased it a couple times, started over, and I just didn't have anything that I was happy with. And when I was mulling over it, I had the thought, why not do a video instead? I can bring the camera down, have it filming on the swing gate. I can get a couple of trains making a lap on the outer portion of the layout. And if it came to a point that inserting the pictures would help to show what I was talking about, then I could insert those and go from there. And as I was doing a few test videos on it, I really enjoyed it and thought, this is what I need to do. Hence this video and why we're here. So the background as to why I needed the swing gate was, as I went to expand the layout, I knew that I wanted to go around the room. And for the first couple of months, I was okay just going to have a duck under. And at this point, I had only had the phase 1 build, which is on the left, bench work done and the track laid. And I'd invited a club member over to see the progress, and he mentioned, what about those that would not be able to duck under a portion of the layout? And thinking on it, I realized my grandparents would fall under that category. They wouldn't be able to duck under anything, and I wanted them to be able to see the layout to show them the progress that I had made. I, at that point, decided it was time to reevaluate, and I decided on doing a swing gate instead. With that out of the way, the first thing that I did that really helped me out was, as I said, this phase 1 portion I had built early on. And I had laid the mainline track coming up just a couple of inches back from the bench work, edge of the bench work, and it turns out to just be a couple of sections of unitrack back. And that allowed me to be able to put a 1x3 spanning the gap between the old bench work and the new bench work, and actually have the exact angle that the track would be, and I wouldn't have to guess, so to speak, of where I needed to have the swing gate bridge piece go. So once I had the 1x3 spanning the gap, I cheated in a way of marking both sides of it, matching up with the bench work, and that way I was able to make a cut line without doing a lot of fancy measuring. Once I got it cut, I knew I needed to have something to hold it. And this was only going to be temporary because I'd thought of doing a lot longer swing gate portion. And so I mounted some 2x2 blocks just under the top of the other layout piece of benchwork, and made sure to mark it so that I would be able to have it and a piece of plywood on top of it and have it be level with the rest of the layout. As things started progressing, I realized this was going to be too big of a swing gate at coming in at almost 4 feet long. And so I got the bridge and the track sections off the sides of it in and laid it so I could see what if I only used these and this be the swing gate part that would actually be swinging. And looking at it, I was happy with it, and I figured I could just use the Kato expansion tracks and go from there. However, as I was looking at getting the expansion tracks, I also needed some others on other parts of the layout, and it was quickly adding up. I decided to just use some of the Atlas 5-inch sections and trim them down to how I needed it. The reason I was going to use the expansion tracks was I didn't want to cut the unitrack with the cut for the swinging portion, just because I didn't want the hassle of getting it lined up perfectly every time, and I could put in the joiner pieces and not have to, yes, I would have to worry about alignment, but I would have a little bit of give room if I needed it. So at this point, I marked that on the left side would be the piece that would go parallel with the track, and as you saw on this right side is where I have the angle cut. I marked that out. I also marked where the bridges were going to be and then removed the track. To make things a little easy and not have to cut multiple pieces at a time, not at a time, but cut one piece, cut another, you get the idea. I had two longer sections of 1x3, one that actually ran the entire length, and so I fastened it to the top of the 1x3 I had already laid, as you can see from these screws here. I then did the same on the opposite side. However, I didn't have a piece long enough to go the entire gap. So to start, I just did a piece that was about the middle of that valley and secured that so that I could then take my saw and actually just cut on this side. It ended up being the top and the side, and on the opposite side it was all three pieces at once. With that, I then put in pieces of 1x3 to make essentially a box of where, actually I didn't put any on this side because I wasn't exactly sure where I was going to put it yet, but on the back side I put pieces to make a box, and I know I have a picture of that, so I'll put that up showing that. The other thing I did at this point was, in my research, I had found that some people were asking about the hinge and if it would eventually warp because of the weight of the swing gate. And someone mentioned in a couple forums to put a shelf piece, and you can see the other one on that side, that the swing gate would sit on when it was closed, and then the weight would be on those. So I also found I needed to have an additional leg to support that, and that is what I did. So that is about it on this side showing, other than I did use barrel bolts to lock it in place when it was there. On this side I did one that was horizontal, and on the opposite you'll see it is a vertical one. So let me get on the other side of the swing gate and I'll get back to you in just a second. All right, everybody, we got to the other side of the swing gate. To help orient, this is the Phase 1 Edition benchwork. As you can see, because of those shelves, I was able to go with a smaller hinge. However, I went with a 2.5 inch long one just to help prevent the swing gate from being moved or twisted when it was being opened and closed. Because of the way this double crossover is wired, and it had to be fed from each side and each track, I ended up having to put a barrier strip there with these wires going back to my safety cutoff. I did isolate the swing gate from the rest of the layout. I will show a couple of pictures as I'm panning over to that safety of where they're at. I do know that it is a little bit of an overkill because of the length. However, I did want to be extra safe and be able to stop the engines from going off the layout. So I'll demonstrate it with the train coming up. And I'm going to move it just because that rear engine is still trying to go. I decided to go physical with power poles with it for the cutoff because I just like that physical. I didn't trust using an Arduino like some people have. I know that's more me just being a little paranoid, so I fully understand that. And I did do a vertical barrel bolt here I figured having a horizontal and a vertical bolt would prevent the gate from moving, up and down and both side to side if it was accidentally bumped. And to do the wire, I just hot glued a piece of conduit there. And so if we just plug it back in, the trains will take off as if nothing happened. And it isn't the prettiest. I was planning to make it look better once the fascia got put on. The reason I had the wires going back onto this portion of the layout, sorry, didn't mean to bump you guys, is I plan to have staging down below that switch there is going off of underneath that loader, and I wanted to be able to kill everything coming from that switch to prevent a train coming up from down below as well. And then this is the shelf that I have on this side, and I think that's pretty much it. I do remember another piece that I'll show. Once I got the bridge portion put in where I knew I was going to cut it and had the box of it built, I went in and cut out along the two pieces, and because I had that the 1x3s going across, I was able to still use it and take this piece of 1x3 and move it down below. So there is a piece of 1x3 down there that helps to keep it sturdy, and I'm hoping will prevent warpage and issues down the road. So I'll throw up a couple of pictures now showing where I cut it. I did goof a little bit in that I cut it down real low, and I did end up filling it in with the fascia and some Sculptamold. So with that, I think that's pretty much all that I can think of with the swing gate. We'll let this train pass and then end the video. If anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments and I will answer them the best I can. I know that this isn't the best way to do it, but it was my way of doing it, and if hopefully it helps somebody out and is beneficial to them. So we'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.